Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here, the occasional 4K. And today we're talking about a bunch of stuff from Warner Archive, and we've got some Film Masters, we've got some Looney Tunes, and a few other Sony releases to discuss. The big one for me, the pick of the group, is His Kind of Woman, which is just a fantastic film noir, but like it's kind of hard to even qualify the movie because it isn't exactly that. It's got some comedic elements, it's got some noir elements, it's got an incredible trio of actors heading it up, Robert Mitchum, Jane Russell, and Vincent Price, and one of, if not my favorite Vincent Price role, one of my very favorites that he ever did. Hard luck gambler Dan Milner is in sudden luck. He'll get $50,000 to hang out at a posh Mexican resort. $5,000 now and a big payoff when the gangsters making the offer don't expect him to live long enough to collect. And His Kind of Woman is a film noir fans kind of movie, dark, sassy, surprise-filled. Robert Mitchum plays Milner, who finds the romantic stakes raised when he meets a self-proclaimed heiress, Jane Russell, in the role that launched her friendship with Mitchum. I believe that was a long-running friendship and one that I find quite charming in the annals of Hollywood history. The mystery is twisted, the sets are astonishing, and the cast is large and talented, but what makes this cult favorite stand apart is Vincent Price's hilarious turn as the self-absorbed, gun-collecting Hollywood star. His name's Mark Cardigan, one of my favorite character names ever, certainly one of my favorite Vincent Price character names ever. Mitchum gets the girl, but Price steals the movie. That is 100% true. Yeah, so this one is from 1951, directed by John Farrow, who would do things like The Big Clock. I love Five Came Back. Alias Nick Beale, I think is his. He did a ton of stuff. Father of Mia Farrow. And a very interesting director in terms of the breadth of stuff he did. But this is easily one of my favorites, if not my favorite one. Also a big one for my podcast partner, Elric Kane. And yeah, it's just really nice to see this get a beautiful new Blu-ray. And it looks fantastic. The Mark Cardigan stuff, easily my favorite stuff. So, you're in the middle of nowhere at this resort, and Vincent Price's character, Mark Cardigan, is showing up to like show his old movies and kind of like, like him as a swashbuckler and just sort of like be this like gigantic egoed blowhard goof, and he really kills it. And it becomes sort of a buddy movie with he and Mitchum, and it's wonderful. I just love it. I can't recommend it enough. Commentary by film historian Vivian Sobchak, classic cartoon Bunny Hugged, and original theatrical trailer are included here as well. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, including that. That's probably my favorite in this group. But let's move on to something a little more modern. We got a new 4K of St. Elmo's Fire. Now, St. Elmo's Fire, one of the ground zero movies for the proverbial Brat Pack, which was the subject of Andrew McCarthy's documentary Brats. Was that early this year or late last year? I think it was this year. Interesting documentary. I don't know if it fully works for me, but I know McCarthy wasn't named in the original group of Brat Pack folks, but obviously he seems to be included in that. But yeah, it's sort of just about how the Brat Pack thing followed him. But anyway, all the major players are here. You have, Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, Judd Nelson, Mare Winningham, and Andrew McCarthy. And I gotta be honest, this is one of those movies. Well, so just for the synopsis for folks. 7 friends, recent college graduates, are searching for a place in the real world as they face issues of career and commitment. Leslie and Alec, that's Ali Sheedy and Judd Nelson, trying to save a crumbling marriage. Romance, sorry, it's not a marriage. That's a point of contention. Wendy, Mare Winningham, a shy virgin, hides a love for Billy, Rob Lowe, a reluctant father-husband, still searching for goals. He's married to the wonderful Jenny Wright, who has kind of a thankless role with almost nothing to do but give him deserved bad looks. Kevin, Andrew McCarthy, is a cynical writer who scorns love until he realizes he's in love with his best friend's girl. Kerbo, Emilio Estevez, a law student, obsessively pursues an older woman. That's Andy McDowell. He stalks her really hard in this movie, and I guess it would have been charming then. I'm not even saying, oh, this hasn't aged well. It's just, can't believe it was okay at the time. Like, driving out to her ski getaway, to, bang on the door with her and her dude, and her somehow being kind of charmed by him. I don't get it. Anyway, the beautiful neurotic Jules, Demi Moore, paints a poignant picture of life in the fast lane against the backdrop of St. Elmo's, their local hangout bar. They save, betray, and love one another as only the closest friends can. So it had been a minute since I'd seen this. 4K looks nice. Includes a commentary with director Joel Schumacher. Joel Schumacher Remembers St. Elmo's Fire featurette, 12 deleted scenes, original making of featurette, Man in Motion music video. Man in Motion, of course, St. Elmo's Fire, the song that we know from this movie. Yeah, it's just one of those 80s classics that I get why it's a thing. I totally understand it, but I just can't bring myself to have a lot of interest or sympathy for these characters. I don't know. Something's wrong with me, I guess. But it's the 40th anniversary. I'm not trying to take a dump on anybody who is a fan of the movie. I certainly understand it, and you'll want to get this 4K if that's the case. This is definitely the movie for you, or the edition for you. A nice 4K of an 80s classic. Moving on to another 4K. This is early still in the Warner Archive 4K arena. We have High Society. This one is starring, of course, Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra. And it is ostensibly a reworking of the Philadelphia Story, which I did not know until recently. Someone pointed that out to me, and I should have caught it. But so yeah, there haven't been that many 4Ks from Warner Archive. We've had The Searchers. I feel like there's another one that I'm blanking on, but still pretty early. And this is a gorgeous movie to put on 4K. I do think that Warner Archive and George Feltenstein understand the movies that deserve this kind of release, and this is clearly one of those. Let's see here. Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra romp elegantly through the scenic, moneyed grounds and waters of outwardly elitist Newport, Rhode Island, in this hip, witty musical version of Philip Barry's The Philadelphia Story. So this is a musical version of that movie, or that story, I'm sorry. Legendary Louis Armstrong as himself plays his trumpet and narrates in prose and song the peccadillos of his song. Samantha Lord, that's Kelly in her final film role before she gets married and goes off and doesn't act anymore, to the prince or whatever. And her stuffy fiancé, George Kittredge, John Lund. Sinatra and wisecracking Celeste Holm are a scandal sheet reporter and photographer who arrive to cover the wedding and complicate the tangled romances. So Sinatra would be the Jimmy Stewart character in this case. Armstrong and his composer buddy, photographer who conspire musically and by other devious means to stop Tracy's marriage. Dexter wants her back, but she takes off with the magazine writer, all of which gives everybody wonderful excuses to break into the incomparable songs of Cole Porter. MGM pulled out all the stops to make High Society a must-see screen event back in 1956, even arranging to license Paramount's magnificent widescreen process VistaVision, which I didn't catch that. That's MGM licensing VistaVision to ensure the film would be something special. Now meticulously restored and remastered from its original VistaVision negative and accompanied by a thrilling new Dolby Atmos remix soundtrack, as well as the film's original theatrical mono-optical soundtrack, this long-awaited release is sure to be the most welcomed by the fans of this box office smash. So, new featurette Cole Porter in Hollywood, True Love, 1956 premiere newsreel, MGM CinemaScope cartoon, Millionaire Droopy, audio-only promo spots featuring Bing Crosby with Grace Kelly and Frank Sinatra. Yes, that is it. But this, of course, includes the Blu-ray and the 4K. So a lovely one if you're a fan of musicals and those actors in the Philadelphia Story. Next up, another Warner Archive. Here we have Splendor in the Grass. This one from 1961. And something of a classic love story, you know. Deanie, Natalie Wood, in an Oscar-nominated performance that marked a career turning point towards complex adult roles, is a teenager eager to do what's right in her 1920s Kansas town, but the emotions she shares with the boyfriend, Bud, Warren Beatty's screen debut, are too strong. Soon the conflict between the respectable behavior and human desire will push Bud to a physical collapse and Deanie to madness. Director Elia Kazan encouraged Pulitzer Prize winner William Inge, who did Bus Stop and Picnic, to turn a true story he heard during his Midwest youth into an Academy Award-winning screenplay. The result, Splendor in the Grass, remains as poetic, penetrating, and powerful today as it was decades ago. That is absolutely correct. So the first role for Warren Beatty and this transitional role for Natalie Wood, both are fantastic in this movie, and it's incredibly powerful stuff. One of the better films that Elia Kazan ever made. This features the documentary Elia Kazan, A Director's Journey, as a special feature, which is a pretty nice bonus, I gotta say. But this is something of a cult item, a romance that is not bubbly and happy. It is difficult and struggling and memorable, and just a new beautiful Blu-ray. Long time coming. Very cool to finally have this film on Blu-ray, and I'm very excited Warner Archive has put it out. So this is an excellent one. Another one that's up there for me in this group that I would say is worth getting. Next up we have Executive Suite, and this one is from 1954. The president of Treadway Corps has unexpectedly died. Long live the new president, but who will the exec be? There's no official line of succession, and so the shady deals and insider backstabbing begin. Boardroom and boudoir politics play out in a star-packed tale of corporate machinations directed by the versatile Robert Wise, who of course did The Sound of Music, The Setup, The Haunting, tons of stuff, a bottom-line opportunist, Frederick March, and an idealistic manufacturing VP, William Holden, emerge as leading candidates for the top post. But while power-suited men maneuver, a woman, Barbara Stanwyck, may have the most clout. She's the founder's daughter and the company's major stockholder, and may be the velvet power behind the Treadway throne. So a very interesting soap opera with a really great cast. June Allison also here, and Walter Pidgeon and Shelley Winters and Paul Douglas and Louis Calhern. So just really impressive stuff. Gene Jagger. I dig this kind of all-star. It's not a disaster movie, but, and it's 1954, so it's well before that cycle really began. But it is an all-star soap opera in the way, like a disaster movie without a disaster, kind of. Like if you made the building on fire, this would be like Not quite a towering inferno, but you know what I mean? Like, so this kind of thing appeals to me. Feature commentary by Oliver Stone. I find that fascinating. Obviously a fan. Tom and Jerry cartoon Hick Cup Pup, and Pete Smith specialty Do Someone a Favor. All included here. But yeah, this is another one that's been waiting for a Blu-ray, and co-written by Ernest Lehman, North by Northwest, among many other wonderful screenplays. So, I don't know, this is another one that I dug in this group. I really think this is worth a look as well. If no, for no other reason, that cast. And another one that I find really interesting is The Enchanted Cottage. Now, this one's from 1945, RKO. Can two damaged, lonely people find happiness together? Can the love and inner beauty they nurture transform their outward appearance? When Oliver Bradford, Robert Young, returns hideously scarred from World War II, he leaves his fiancée believing that no woman could ever love him. But Oliver meets Laura Pennington, Dorothy McGuire, a very plain young woman who thinks that no man would love a woman so lacking in physical beauty as she. The couple marry more out of desperation than affection and move into a small house that has served over the years as a honeymoon cottage for newlyweds. But the love of all the prior guests lingers in their home, and Oliver and Laura become beautiful whenever they are inside. The Enchanted Cottage, based on the play by Sir Arthur Wing Pinero, and first filmed in 1924, starring Richard Barthelmess, this 1945 production was met with critical and audience acclaim. So a really interesting fantasy film that, again, I think is worthy of your attention if you like this sort of romance. There's an audio-only Lux Theater radio broadcast from September of 1945 and a General Electric Theater broadcast from September of 53, also included here. Yeah, I don't know. Herbert Marshall also in this one, as well as Mildred Natwick, Spring Byington, Hilary Blook, Richard Gaines. A screenplay by DeWitt Bodine and Herman J. Mankiewicz, based on the play. DeWitt Bodine was one of the writers that Val Lewton used on a lot of the horror films that he did for RKO, and a very good screenwriter. And I think that can be felt. There's a certain magical realism that I wouldn't say directly ties into the Val Lewton movies, but you can see how somebody that would have written one of those, let's say, and I can't remember if DeWitt Bodine wrote this one, but I think he did, Curse of the Cat People, which is more of a fairy tale with some horror trappings. This is more maybe in line with something like that, but I just think it's an interesting story and a neat little romance. So very nice to have The Enchanted Cottage on Blu-ray as well. Next up, we have A Date with Judy. This one from let's see here. That's a good question, actually. I don't know when The Date with Judy is from. But it is an upbeat, sort of light and frothy 1948. A Date with Judy takes you on a sunny, spirited romp through post-war America that's bright with song and shining with innocence. A galaxy of Hollywood favorites lead the way, including Jane Powell in the title role, neophyte screen-sired Elizabeth Taylor, foggy-voiced Wallace Beery, and the Brazilian bombshell Carmen Miranda making her MGM debut. Based on a very popular radio series, this merry musical follows the adventures of a young Judy Foster. For Judy, going to the big school dance is a full-time job, and so is making a perfect hash of her friends' and family's love lives, all with the best intentions, of course. The film's delightful score is highlighted by a rafter-raising of a song, It's a Most Unusual Day, and the comedy is in the capable hands of Beery and Miranda. When she teaches him how to rumba, it's more Stan and Ollie than Fred and Ginger, and so much fun. So yeah, like it's a fun comedy, light musical, from 1948 with a couple comedic actors that you know. Classic Tom and Jerry cartoon, Professor Tom, MGM musical short, Martin's Block musical, Merry-Go-Round short, number 3, an episode of A Date with Judy radio show, Oogie and His Hot Licks, vintage MGM Jane Powell radio interview. So Wallace Beery, Jane Powell, Elizabeth Taylor, Carmen Miranda, directed by Richard Thorpe. This one I was totally off my radar somehow. I was not aware of this one, although you can see a very goofy looking Wallace Beery on the front. And whenever I think of Wallace Beery, I think of Barton Fink, you know, and he's like, Wallace Beery, wrestling picture. Do you need a roadmap? Anyway. Okay, so in this next one, part of the group here, that's the Film Masters stuff, restored stuff. This used to be Film Detective, now it's Film Masters. This one came out as a Film Detective Blu-ray. Now, I'm not sure if this is a new scan from previous or if it's the same, but Angela Lansbury and Keith Andes star in Life at Stake, a highly charged mystery thriller from director Paul Guilfoyle. Spoiled young Doris Hillman, Lansbury invites struggling architect Edward Shaw, Andes, to come in as her husband's partner in a lucrative real estate deal. However, when Edward becomes romantically involved with Doris, he learns that something deadly is going on. There's a life at stake, and it could be his own. This independent production from the golden age of film noir was described by the Los Angeles Times as a study in fear. It also shows Lansbury, already a double Oscar nominee, as you've never seen her. She's a charming femme fatale, but is she as bad as she seems? This newly restored HD title from Archival Film Elements. So this is a really neat film noir that I think is very underseen and very underrated. I did enjoy it. It's from 1955. You can see how lovely Angela Lansbury is here, and she really is a great femme fatale. You know, I don't know. Newly restored from Archival Film Elements, closed caption, chapter menu. Note this product is manufactured on demand in the BDR format. So yeah, that is a BDR versus a pressed disc, something you might need to know. But like I said, a really solid film noir, and one that when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is great. This is the kind of thing you want to discover at, a Noir City Fest, that they could easily slot in. It would be the highlight of the festival, a new discovery. It's only 76 minutes on top of that, so pretty great stuff. A Life at Stake, big recommend on that one. Next we have this limited edition of Algiers, and this one is from 1938. Charles Boyer and Hedy Lamarr are the ill-fated couple in this Hollywood remake of the French classic Pepe Le Moko. So if you're a fan of Pepe Le Moko, which I am, it's been a while since I've seen that Criterion DVD. Boyer is Pepe, the jewel thief hiding out in Algiers' maze-like and mysterious Casbah. Pepe is a master criminal who rules his field, but when he meets the beautiful Parisian Gaby, Lamar, in her American film debut, he begins to question his shady existence. Directed by John Cromwell, who also did he did The Enchanted Cottage. I meant to say that. Dead Reckoning, The Prisoner of Zenda. With dialogue by noir master James M. Cain, Algiers was an influence on everything from Pepe Le Pew cartoons to the making of Casablanca. Newly restored from a 5K scan of a 16mm print, this title is limited edition. Newly restored Archival Film Elements, closed caption, full-length commentary, and O-card and a booklet as well. This is a commentary by film historians Carrie Bible and Roy Wyndham, and the liner notes are by Roy Wyndham. So a really nice special edition from Film Masters. This is one of their more deluxe packages. Sometimes they go pretty bare bones, but this one is really nice. And a movie that I have not seen and I've wanted to see, knowing its pedigree. So definitely another one to recommend. Now this next one I think I talked about before. I'm just going to reiterate. Convicts Code as one to check out. This from 1939. A man with a past fights for the right to love in this thrilling drama from a long-gone era. In Convicts Code, Dave Tyler, Robert Kent, is being released from prison after serving 3 years for a crime he didn't commit. Classic noir setup there. His plan is to find the people responsible for framing him. Also classic. It won't be easy because any parole violation could send him back to the penitentiary. To complicate matters, he has fallen in love with a woman, Anne Nagel, whose brother may have set him up. Distributed by Monogram Pictures and directed by Lambert Hillier. Convicts Code is a prime example of the quick and easy poverty row movies that entertained filmgoers in the 1930s. Newly restored in HD. This is only 63 minutes. It's a BDR. No features, but not too expensive. But again, an interesting one to pair with either Life at Stake or even Algiers for that matter. You got some nice noir unknowns coming out of Film Masters. All right, next up we have the fabulous Dorsys, and this one is from 1947. Tommy and Jimmy Dorsey play themselves in this high-spirited film biography. The film follows the brothers from their early days all the way to their greatest successes. Director Alfred E. Green, who did The Jolson Story, uses the film as a showcase for some great music, including I'm Getting Sentimental Over You and Marie. Jazz buffs will notice cameos by such greats as band leader Paul Whiteman and pianist Art Tatum. In fact, look for a special jam session featuring the Dorsys and Tatum. It's the perfect snapshot of the days when musicians could really swing, newly restored in HD. This is another BDR, and it does not have any other features, but definitely interesting if you're a fan of this kind of stuff. You're a fan of the Dorsys, and I like their music, so this is cool to have them playing themselves. It's kind of a rarity. But restored in HD by Film Masters. The Life of Two Giants of Swing-Era Jazz. So that's that one. Now, next up we have a couple that have been previously available. We have the Looney Tunes Collections Platinum Collections Volume 1 and 2. Now, these were available in nicer... They're not they're the nicer cases, and I can't remember what they're called, like hard box cases, kind of. But these have been out of print for a while and hard to get, and now they're back in print, and we have 3 discs here. Here's Volume 1, here's Volume 2. Definitely cool to have these back in print. You saw them at the movies, you saw them on TV, you saw them instead of studying for your finals. Now you can watch the world-class looniness as never before in this 3-disc collection featuring 50 theatrical shorts, dazzlingly remastered and presented in a stunning audio and visual experience. The fun begins on disc 1, where you'll find Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig, plus Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, Pepe Le Pew, Foghorn Leghorn, and Speedy Gonzales in a dizzyingly delightful showcase of cartoon icons at their animated best. Disc 2 explodes with one-shot classics and complete collection from Marvin the Martian, The Tasmanian Devil, Witch Hazel, Mark Anthony, and Ralph Phillips. The outstanding shorts from the Warner Brothers vault stand out even more in their newly remastered brilliance. Now more than ever, they're a must-see. So a really, really nice set with 50 classic cartoons. And again, this was out of print and is now back, which is really exciting. So this one I don't think has any features on it, the first round. But the second one does have some stuff. So this is Volume 2. Look who's back with more gags, more laughs, and more signature showcases. Make way for Looney Tunes Platinum Collection Volume 2 with 50 more animated theatrical shorts remastered in stellar high-def Blu-ray. Disc 1's selections focus on the core characters such as Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig. Disc 2 offers hilarious one-shot classics, complete escapades of Cecil Turtle, the all-purpose adversary Nasty Canasta, bashful little Beaky Buzzard, and hilariously hungry A Flea. Saving the best for last, the Disc 3 serves up a great fun and insider info with its wild array of bonus programs saluting legendary animators and historical gems, not to mention a fan-selected favorite that will be sure to satisfy even the most discerning cartoon connoisseur. So grab a chair, a comedy short, and a carrot, because it's always Wabbit season when this must-own collection comes home. So the special features: over 8 hours of content celebrating the animation legacies of Tex Avery, Friz Freleng, and Leon Schlesinger, with insightful documentaries, rare footage, and over 30 bonus shorts from Tex Avery and others. 26-page booklet with rare images, and the cartoon guide by historian Jerry Beck, and music and music and effects only tracks as well. So this one is supposed to have a booklet, but mine did not come with a booklet. That's unfortunate. We may have to check on that. But it does sound like a nice set regardless. Yeah, I remember digging this set better than the first one even. But two really great sets. Nice to have them back. Lastly, we have Pirate Radio. Now, this is from director Richard Curtis. And Richard Curtis, you'd know from things like Love Actually, which I'm not really a fan of, self-professed. But, you know, he did do some other stuff that I like a little more. I remember liking About Time. Yeah, this is also known as The Boat That Rocked, but this is, I believe, a different cut of the film because it's Pirate Radio. But it is from 2009 and from the creator of Love Actually and Notting Hill. I think he was the writer on Notting Hill. And I like that a lot. Comes a trip back to the freewheeling, free-loving 60s when the very rock music that inspired a generation was censored by the government. When a group of rebellious DJs decides to defy the ban, they take to the seas to broadcast music and mayhem to millions of adoring fans, featuring a soundtrack that includes The Who, The Kinks, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, The Rolling Stones, and many more. It's a feel-great film based on a true story that critics cheer is exuberant. Now, this has a really cool cast, including Philip Seymour Hoffman, Bill Nighy, Reese Ifans, Nick Frost, Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson, January Jones, Chris O'Dowd. Oh man, gosh, there's a bunch more here that you'd recognize. I feel like Reese Darby, you know. So it's a really heck of a stacked cast and a great soundtrack, and that's kind of all it really takes for me sometimes. So the Boat That Rock cut is 135 minutes. Now this is a shorter cut. The Pirate Radio cut is 117 minutes. So it's a different version of the film if you're used to The Boat That Rocked. But I actually kind of like shorter versions, and I think sometimes shorter is better. You know, we have been deluded into thinking it's not, but sometimes it is. Special features include deleted scenes, featurette My Scenes, feature commentary with director Richard Curtis, producer Hilary Bevan Jones, and actors Nick Frost and Chris O'Dowd, which is undoubtedly entertaining. But a movie I missed when it came out, and I am intrigued to check out at this point now, despite not being a big fan of Love Actually. I know I have no soul. Anyway, that will do it for this round of my little collection update. Hopefully there's some stuff in here you didn't know about or excited about, and you can let me know. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.